L'Alpe is a ski resort at 1,250 to 3,330 meters. It is a mountain pasture in the Central French Alps, in the commune of Huez, which is part of the department of Isère in the region of Rhône-Alpes. It is part of the Grandes Rousses massif over the Haut-Oisans, and is 59 kilometers from Grenoble. The Alpe resort is accessible from Grenoble by the road 1091, which runs along the Romanche Valley passing through the communes of Livet-et-Gavet and Le Bourg-d'Oisans as well as Haut-Oisans via the Col de Sarenne. Alpe is used regularly in the Tour de France cycle race, including twice on the same day in 2013. History. The site of the Alpe has been permanently occupied since the Middle Ages. East of Livet-et-Gavet, a medieval agglomeration had indeed grown from the end of the 11th to the 14th century under the name of Brands. It was composed of a castle, a parish church with a cemetery, a village with about 80 homes, surface and underground mine workings as well as several industrial districts. Its occupants operated a silver mine on behalf of the Dauphin. It is currently the only medieval commune known and preserved in its entirety, making it a unique site in Europe and classified as historical monuments by a decree of 6 August 1995. Excavated and studied continuously since 1977 by a team of the CNRS, this site is registered as historic monuments. The medieval mining operation stretched from Huez Valley to the Lac Blanc. The massif was also the subject of mining operations, including copper, from the Bronze Age. It is also at Alpe where botanist Gaston Bonnier began his study of flora of France in 1871. The station was developed from the 1920s. This is where the first plateau lift for skiers was opened in 1936 with purchase by Jean Pomagalski, creator of the Poma Company. Economy. Each year, the International Festival of Comedy Film of Alpe is held in January. Alpe also has an altiport, the Alpe Airport, built for the 10th Winter Olympics held at Grenoble in 1968. It was named for Henry Giraud on 15 April 2000. In memory of the famous mountain pilot, the altiport hosts helicopters including those of Civil Security, SAF Helicopters and the Dauphiné Flying Club. A gourmet restaurant is located on the edge of the platform. Local culture and heritage, sites and monuments. The church Alpe has a modern and original church, the appearance of which recalls the silhouette of the Virgin Mary. Under the leadership of Father Jaap Ruijten, head of the parish from 1964 to 1992, it was designed by the architect Jean Merole in the 1960s, and decorated with color-rich stained glass windows by the artist Arcabis. This church houses a pipe organ which is unique in the world. The organ takes the form of a hand drawn up towards the sky, designed by composer Jean Giller and the German organ builder Detlef Klucker. Each year, concerts are held around this instrument on Thursday night, winter and summer, as well as organ, pan flute and choral courses during the summer. Cultural heritage. The Heritage House of Haut-Oisans, of the Musée de France. Winter sports. Alpe is primarily used for downhill, or alpine skiing. Skiing at Alpe is one of Europe's premier skiing venues. The site of the Pomagalski's first surface lift in the mid-30s. The resort gained popularity when it hosted the bobsleigh events of the 1968 Winter Olympics. At the time, the resort was seen as a competitor to Courchevel as France's most upmarket purpose-built resort, but the development of Les Trois, the Valais, Val di Serritines, Le Planier and Les Arcs or Alpe fall from favor in the 1970s and early 1980s, with 249 kilometers of piste and 84 ski lifts. The resort is now one of the world's largest. Extensive snowmaking facilities helped combat the ski area's largely south-facing orientation and helped Alpe appeal to beginner skiers. With very easy slopes, the expansion of the skiing above the linked resorts of Vaugirard and Haut-Oisans, Villard-Reculus and Naurus boosted the quantity and quality of intermediate-grade slopes, but the resort is mostly known for free skiing, drawing many steep skiing enthusiasts to its high-altitude terrain. Aside from the tunnel and Sarenne black runs, the latter the world's longest at 16 kilometers, many off-piste opportunities exist both from the summit of the 3,330 meters Pic Blanc and the 2,808 meters Dôme des Petites Rousses. These include the 50-degree Chemins du Mascal-Gaulois, the open powder field of Le Grand Sablat, the Col Fleur and the Perrins Bowl. Up to 2,200 meters of vertical descent are available with heli drops back to the resort's altiport. The proximity to the exclusively off-piste resort of Le Grave as well as tree skiing at Serre Chevalier and the glacier and terrain parks of Les Alpes have made Alpe a popular base for skiers looking to explore the Haut-Oisans region. 1968 Winter Olympics. Alpe hosted the bobsleigh events at the 1968 Winter Olympics based at Grenoble 65 kilometers away. The track, built in spring 1966 for 5,500,000 French francs, hosted the 1967 FIBT World Championship. The cooling could not keep the ice solid in bright daylight, not least because the track faced south. The four-man event was cancelled because of thawing ice, and modifications were made in spring 1967 to prepare for the games. The refrigeration system was strengthened in turns 6, 9, 12, and 13. Turn 12 was covered with stone and earthwork to prevent concrete coming up. Turn 12 was cooled with liquid nitrogen, and shades were built on turns 6, 9, 12, and 13 to minimize direct sunlight. Thawing remained a problem and Olympic bobsleigh events had to be scheduled before sunrise. The track closed in 1972 due to high operating costs, but the structure remains as demolition would not have been economical. No turn names were given for the track. Cycle racing. Details of the climb. The climb to the summit starts at Le Bourg-d'Oisans in the Romanche Valley. The climb goes via the D211 from where the distance to the summit is 13.8 kilometers, with an average gradient of 8.1%, with 21 hairpin bends and a maximum gradient of 13%. In 2013, the finish of stage 18 of the Tour de France was at 1,850 meters, with the first passage being at a maximum altitude of 1,765 meters. Tour de France. L'Alpe is climbed regularly in the Tour de France. It was first included in the race in 1952 and has been a stage finish regularly since 1976. The race was brought to the mountain by Elie Wermelinger, the chief commissaire referee. He drove his Dyna Panhard car between snowbanks that lined the road in March 1952. Invited by a consortium of businesses who had opened hotels at the summit. The leader was Georges Rajon, who ran the Hotel Christina. The ski station there opened in 1936. Wermelinger reported to the organizer, Jacques Goddet, and the tour signed a contract with the businessman to include the Alpe. It cost them the modern equivalent of €3,250. That first Alpe stage was won by Fausto Coppi. Coppi attacked 6 kilometers from the summit to rid himself of the French rider Jean Robic. He turned the Alpe into an instant legend because this was the year that motorcycle television crews first came to the Tour. It was also the Tour's first mountaintop finish. The veteran reporter Jacques Organder said, "The Tourmalet, the Galibier and the Isorde were the mythical mountains of the race. These 3 cols were supplanted by the Alpe d'Huez. Why? Because it's the col of modernity." Coppi's victory in 1952 was the symbol of a golden age of cycling, that of champions Coppi, Bartali, Kubler, Koblet, Bobet. But only Coppi and Armstrong and Carlos Sastre have been able to take the maillot jaune on the Alpe and to keep it to Paris. That's not by chance. From the first edition, shown on live television, the Alpe d'Huez definitively transformed the way the Grande Boucle ran. No other stage has had such drama. With its 21 bends, its gradient and the number of spectators, it is a climb in the style of Hollywood. Organder neglected to mention Fignon, who, along with Coppi and Armstrong, took yellow on the Alpe without winning the stage in 1983, 1984, and 1989. He held it into Paris in 1983 and 1984, but in 1989 he lost it on the final stage to Paris, a time trial, to Greg LeMond to finish second by 8, the closest finish in Tour history. After Coppi, however, the Alpe was dropped until 1964, when it was included as a mid-stage climb, and then again until 1976, both times at Rajon's instigation. The hairpin bends are named after the winners of stages. All hairpins had been named by the 22nd climb in 2001, so naming restarted at the bottom with Lance Armstrong's name added to Coppi's. French journalist and Lyric-Wiki sports writer Jean-Paul Vespierny wrote a book about Alpe d'Huez and its role in the Tour de France. The Tour is won on the Alpe d'Huez and the classic battles of the Tour de France. Spectators. The Alpe has chaotic crowds of spectators. In 1999, Giuseppe Guerini won, despite being knocked off by a spectator who stepped into his path to take a photograph. The 2004 individual time trial became chaotic when fans pushed riders toward the top. Attendance figures on the mountain have to be treated with caution. 1 million spectators were claimed for 1997. Eric Müller, the mayor of Alpe d'Huez, however, said there were 350,000 in 2001. 4 years later, despite acceptance that the number rises every year, we expect more than 400,000 for the centenary race in 2003, he said. The author Tim Moore wrote, as a variant on a sporting theme, Alpe d'Huez annoys the purists but enthralls the broader public, like 2020's cricket or beach volleyball. Last year, a full-blown tent-stamping riot had required heavy police intervention. During this year's clean-up operation, down in a ravine with the bottle shards and dented emulsion tins, a body turned up. It'd fallen off the mountain and no one had noticed. When the Tour goes up Alpe d'Huez, it's a squalid, manic and sometimes lethal shambles, and that's just the way they like it. It's the Glastonbury Festival for cycling fans. Alpe d'Huez has been nicknamed the Dutch Mountain, since Dutchmen won 8 of the first 14 finishes in the Tour de France. British author Geoffrey Nicholson wrote, the attraction of opposites draws from the Low Countries to the Alps each summer in any case. But all winter in the Netherlands, coach companies offer 2 or 3 nights at Alpe d'Huez as a special feature of their alpine tours. And those Dutch families who don't come by coach, park the campers and pitch the tents along the narrow ledges beside the road like seabirds nesting at St Kilda. The Dutch haven't adopted the Alpe d'Huez simply because it is sunny and agreeable, or even because the modern, funnel-shaped church Notre-Dame-des-Neiges has a Dutch priest, Father Royton. What draws the Dutch to Alpe d'Huez is the remarkable run of success the riders have had there. Significant stages. 1952, Jean Robic attacked at the start of the climb and only Fausto Coppi could stay with him. The two climbed together until Coppi attacked at bend 5, 4 kilometers from the top. He won the stage, the yellow jersey and the Tour. 1977, Lucien Van Impe, a Belgian rider leading the climbers competition, broke clear on the Col du Glandon. He gained enough time to threaten the leader, Bernard Thévenet. He was still clear on the Alpe when a car drove into him. The time that Van Impe waited for another wheel was enough to keep Thévenet in the lead by 8 seconds. 1978, another Belgian leading the mountains race also came close to taking the yellow jersey. Michel Pollentier also finished alone, but he was caught soon afterwards defrauding a drugs control and was disqualified. 1984, the Tour invited amateurs to take part in the 1980s. The best was Luis Herrera, who lived at 2,000 meters in Colombia. None of the professionals could follow him. He won alone to the cacophony of broadcasters who had arrived to report his progress. 1986, Bernard Hinault said he would help Greg LeMond win the Tour but appeared to ride otherwise. The two crossed the line arm in an apparent sign of truce. 1997, Marco Pantani, who won on the Alpe 2 years earlier, attacked 3 times and only Jan Ullrich could match him. He lasted until 10 kilometers from the summit and Pantani rode on alone to win in what is often quoted as record speed. 1999, Giuseppe Guerini, who broke away on his own, collided with a spectator but got up and went on to win the stage. 2001, Lance Armstrong feigned vulnerability earlier in the stage, appearing to be having an off day. At the bottom of the Alpe d'Huez climb, Armstrong moved to the front of the lead group of riders and then looked back at Jan Ullrich. Armstrong later commented that he wasn't looking back at Ullrich but was actually looking back to see the position of his teammate Tyler Hamilton. Seeing no response from Ullrich, Armstrong accelerated away from the field to claim the victory, 1:59 ahead of Ullrich. Armstrong would later be stripped of this achievement and his Tour win by his conviction for doping in 2012. His name, however, is still honored on one of the 21 signs of previous winners lining the road of Alpe d'Huez. 2013, Christophe Riblon won the stage at the summit of Alpe d'Huez during the 100th edition of the Tour. For the first time ever, riders rode up the climb twice with the descent over the Col de Sarenne in between. Winners *. In 1979 there were 2 stages at Alpe d'Huez. Stage 18 of the 2013 Tour climbed to Alpe d'Huez twice. Marino Moser was the leader at the first time over the summit. Fastest descents the climb has been timed since 1994, so earlier times are subject to discussion. From 1994 to 1997 the climb was timed from 14.5 kilometers from the finish. Since 1999 photo finish has been used from 14 kilometers. Other times have been taken 13.8 kilometers from the summit, which is the start of the climb. Others have been taken from the junction 700 meters from the start. These variations have led to a debate. Pantani's 37 meters 35 has been cited by Pro Cycling and World Cycling Productions, publisher of Tour de France DVDs, and Bicycle Sport. In a biography of Pantani, Matt Rendell notes Pantani at 1,994 to 38 meters 0 west, 1,995 to 38 8 meters, forest 1997 to 37 meters 35. The Alp Tourist Association describes the climb as 14.454 kilometers and lists Pantani's 37 meters 35 as the record. Other sources give Pantani's times from 1994, 1995 and 1997 as the fastest, based on timings adjusted for the 13.8 kilometers. Such sources list Pantani's time in 1995 as the record at 36 meters 40s. In Blazing Saddles, Rendell has changed his view and listed it as 36 meters 50s as does Cycling News. Second, third, and fourth fastest to Pantani in 1997, Pantani in 1994 and Jan Ullrich in 1997. Armstrong's time in 2004 makes him fifth fastest, highlighting how the 1990s had faster ascents than other eras. A number of cycling publications cite times prior to 1994, although distances are typically not included, making comparisons difficult. Copy has been listed with 45 meters 22s for 1952. In the 1980s, Gert-Jan Thiernis, Pedro Delgado, Luis Herrera, and Laurent Fignon rode in times stated to be faster than Copy's, but still not breaking 40 meters. Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault have been reported as having the times of 48 meters 0s in 1986. It was not until Gianni Bugno and Miguel Indurain in 1991 that times faster than 40 meters were reported, including in the 39 meters range for Bjarne Iis in 1995 and Richard Veronique in 1997. Ascent times based on 14.454 kilometers *. The 2004 stage was an individual time trial. Other cycle races. The peak is also finish of La Marmite, a one-day 175 kilometers ride with 5,000 meters of climbing. Mountain biking. The resort caters for mountain bikers during the summer months, the pinnacle of which is the Megavalanche, a downhill enduro event that takes riders from lift station at the highest peak, Pic Blanc, to Alamont in the valley floor. Triathlon. Since 2006, Cyril Neveu has organized the triathlon EDF Alped Way, which has become a major summer attraction. International relations. Twin towns. Sister cities. Alped Way is twinned with Bormio, Italy, since 2005.